It shows how old we are that I had to go back in time in the space time travel machine Mafia has in the back of the SportsGrid studios to remember this guy from the ticket in Dallas. And I never knew that Rich Phillips did the SMU games because I wasn't that tuned into Dallas other than being on the radio there. I was on there every day, forever, great station. And then where did he take me, Mafia? What was that place you took me for barbecue in Dallas? Do you remember what that town was called? What was it called?
Where we had the party at?
Well, no, so Mafia took me to some place, a barbecue place that was legendary in Dallas. And I forget what the name of the
that doesn't narrow it down. That doesn't narrow it down here, man.
Mafia should remember this. He's going to look it up, hopefully, and remember it by the time we're done. But Rich Phillips calls SMU games down in Dallas. You know, Rich, it's great to see you. It's been forever. I actually, I bet on SMU last week. And, you know, I grew up in Pittsburgh, so I kind of have a little bit of an affinity for Pitt. I'm a Canes fan and I'm Indiana fan. I went to Indiana, but I like Pitt. I used to watch, you know, Dan Marino, Tony Dorsett, and many others, Hugh Green, you name it, that played there, Siragusa, all of the greats that played at Pitt over the years. They had a great team. They were undefeated, Narduzzi, and I still thought they were going to go to Ford and get smacked because that team, SMU, means business this year, and particularly down there at Ford in Dallas.
Yeah, only loss this year was at home, but it was 3 points to a team in the top 10 now, BYU. It's been an incredible run for SMU this year, doing something that nobody else has ever done, move up from a group of 5 conference to a power conference and keep winning. Nobody had gone 2-0 in a league moving up like that. They're 4-0 now in the ACC, and right there firmly entrenched with a chance to go to the conference championship game here in a few weeks.
My God, Smith ran all over him in that game. I thought the guy was going to have 200 yards.
That guy is working on getting himself paid. He was mostly a wide receiver for 3 years at Miami, transferred here to SMU. He had played for the Mustangs head coach, Rhett Lashley, when he was the offensive coordinator at Miami. So he transferred here, and they told him he's going to be a running back primarily. And he's about to have a 1,000-yard season, and he has been nothing short of outstanding. And I've been really impressed, not just with his speed, but his willingness to do the tough stuff, too, when it comes to running up the middle.
Well, you saw him, Rich, win the American last year, this team. You already knew they were good. And then they get somehow into this conference. You have to explain that to me, how that worked out, because I didn't see that coming from anywhere, let alone a mile away. That SMU was going to end up in the ACC? Seriously. And now you win the American. Now you're going to play for the ACC, it looks like, against my Canes.
Well, it's paying to play, kind of is what they're doing. They agreed to not take the football TV money for the first 9 years in the ACC as part of this move up. You know, the other teams that moved in, Stanford and Cal, they're taking a smaller percentage, but SMU gets none of the football TV money. They don't need it, I guess, because 1 week after the announcement was made last September, they raised $100 million in donations in an effort to compete with everybody financially in the ACC, and kind of they're paying to play. They bought their way in, and now they're doing more than buying their way in. They're trying to win their way to the title game.
I mean, you know, I know everything's bigger in Texas, and the pockets are deeper. We've seen that with Jerry Jones, what he's turned that Cowboys team into, a $10 billion monstrosity of money. I guess it's no different in college football there at Austin, at SMU. Obviously at Houston, they're paying players to play college basketball. Is that what it boils down to? It's just bigger in Texas?
Well, we like to say NIL means now it's legal around here. It's kind of what they were doing 40 years ago at SMU. It just wasn't legal back then, and they ended up getting the program shut down for a couple of years because of it. But now everybody's allowed to do it, and they've waited a long time. SMU fans have waited a long time to be back to this level from the Southwest Conference days of the early and mid-'80s, and a lot of them are willing to pay up to get there, and so far, so good.
So, I mean, that is crazy. So, how about Jennings? 306 in that game, 2 touchdowns. How good is he?
He is as calm, cool, and collected of a quarterback that you'll ever see. And we even knew that about him 2 years ago when he was a true freshman. He got thrown into a game when he was the third stringer because the starter was hurt and the backup got hurt in that game. And he was awesome. Helped beat Tulsa that day. Last season, he had to take over as a starter for the bowl, the conference championship game and the bowl game because of injury to the starter. And he was outstanding again. He just is a really calm kid back there in the pocket. Local kid, too, from South Dallas, who won a state title there at South Oak Cliff High School. And, man, he's been a pleasure to work with and a pleasure to watch. He just is so in command of the pocket and very in command of the team when he's on the field.
So they started, they got the lead early in this game on Johnson's TD run, and then they just blew him out. And I was surprised because I think Holstein's a good quarterback. I don't think he played like the last 10 minutes of the game, right? They took him out because it was such a blowout. And, that team was trying to go to 8-0 for the first time since Dan Marino. I mean, they have been a very big surprise. I think I'm really not that surprised that SMU's good. Like I said, you knew they were good last year. They're still good.
And the reason they got there last year is because while they get so much credit for their offense, their defense was outstanding last year. They were top 25 in the nation in most major categories. And they're doing it again this year defensively. And I thought Saturday against Pitt was about the best I had seen them play, particularly in just basic things like tackling. And Pitt struggled. Pitt didn't tackle guys. And they had a receiver horizontal coming down to the ground at one point, and he winds up with a 40-yard catch and run after the play. SMU, though, wrapped guys up. They really put a ton of pressure, too, on Eli Holstein. That's why I don't think he had a very good night against him as well. Their defense really, as much as Rhett Lashley's an offensive guy, and he gets credit for that, and he should. I mean, they score 40 a game. Defensively is where they've really made the difference the last couple of years.
Is that kid Davis okay? Like, I saw him carried off the field. I was watching when he hit his head. Is that kid all right?
So we did find out he actually made it back to the stadium before the game was over. He was on the sideline for the fourth quarter, did have a cervical collar on. Like it is a lot of times nowadays, like it probably should be too. There's a lot of precautionary stuff that's done when you see shots to the head, shots to the neck, things like that. I haven't gotten any update on him yet this week. They got a bye this week, so not a lot going on. But at least we know he was back from the hospital before the game ended.
So take me back to the Duke game, because that game was way wilder than the Pitt game that you won in overtime in Durham, and you had a bunch of turnovers in that game, but you still won.
Just 6. Is that a lot?
Yeah.
6 turnovers.
Did Jennings throw 5 picks?
3 picks, and he had 2 fumbles. And he lost, and he had 2 other fumbles, one that he recovered and one that the left guard recovered. I mean, that's a game that you look back at it, and it's like 6 turnovers, and they didn't take it away once. They got no business winning that game. But Duke scored 0 points off of turnovers, including the last 3 possessions of regulation. They got the ball 3 times in SMU territory, missed a field goal, had to punt, and then on the last play of regulation, a ridiculous play by Jafari Harvey to block a 30-yard field goal, which was their only hope. And then they went on and won it in overtime. Sometimes you're living right when you're having a magical season, and that definitely was a night where they were living right.
I got 30 seconds. Do you think they can beat Miami?
Boy, I don't know. They would have a chance because their defense plays so well, and Miami has to score a ton of points to win a lot of these games. You got to see it. Cam Ward's got to do a ton to get them to a win, but it'd be a huge test. I'd love to see it. I hope I get to see it here in early December.
Real quick, 10 seconds. How's the SMU basketball team looking?
Won by about 33, I think, last night. Andy Enfield's first game, the former USC coach, getting started here with a bunch of new guys.
They got him down there with some money, too.
Yes.
Hey, Rich, it's good to see you. Congratulations on everything with the SMU football and basketball.